What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review a mixtape by the cat Skrillz. Basically this product is called Hear Me Out and it came out in the spring of 2014. So the thing about this particular product here, his name is not actually called the cat Skrillz, but his name is Skrillz as far as this pitch can happen. He's a pretty low-key rapper within the pitch behind it. Looking after this particular aspect of this mixtape as far as these pairs can happen, it was originally on DatPiff back in the day. I found this surfing the internet as far as those pairs can particularly happen with it. It's a good concept here. Now the number of views of this mixtape is stacked up, at least on one of the mixtape websites, since about 2014 has been about 925, 930 within pitches like that. It's within the tone, but in terms of the number of plays that this mixtape had, at least on this particular website, it's only been 8. This particular mixtape has only gotten 8 plays in the past 11 years, and I was 3 of those particular plays as far as this pitch can happen. When I originally found this mixtape, it only had 5, so it's within the pitch as far as saying. I look within the tone, low-key type mixtape here, just a little bit more localized within the pitch, has some pretty good artwork within the tone behind it. It's this kind of a concept. It's a little bit difficult to find, especially with DatPiff no longer being around as full-blown, I'd have to say. Seemed like one of those type ones. I want to get to a lot more of these mixtapes to kind of find more of these just in the trenches type ones within some of those type pitches as far as those fairs going to happen. I want to get to some of these type fairs. The unfortunate thing about it is just the fact with DatPiff kind of crumbling. I don't know if this particular mixtape would have been on the Internet Archive when it resurfaced, the DatPiff mixtapes from 2023, but it's just from the pitch that it is luckily still around within some of those type fashions. But this is kind of the pitch that just the super low keyness about it is just kind of within the fashion behind it. But just to say, I don't know how many full-bound other projects that this Skrillz cat particularly kind of has. I checked out his Facebook and didn't have too many active. This particular fellow didn't have too much further activity past about the spring of 2014 when this product came out, so it's within the pitch as far as saying, but I question how many downloads it got on DatPiff back in the day, but probably not more than 50, I'd say, maybe something within that fashion. But he is also on SoundCloud within some of those type pitches, just to say some of that. Basically, on his particular SoundCloud, the most popular songs on here after these amount of times are Get Focused and Still Kicking, the first song you hear on here, which that particular song, Still Kicking, has almost 300 plays, and the second, well, there's some other ones on here that have 7 Minutes in Heaven and Joe vs. Skrillz have over 200 plays as well. It's just within the pitch, but I would definitely say I'm going to recommend a lot of these songs on here within the pitch. This is going to get a pretty solitary score despite the fact how relatively low-key it is. Seems seemingly one of the more pedestrian kind of income type products within the tones. Not to say that this cat doesn't have the quality within the aspect, but it just feels like this is more of just working possibly at Walmart or like Walmart or Old Navy, some of those type pitches within the tone. Not to say anything against that. I do appreciate those types of mixtape, pretty full bones, just within the pitch as far as saying just more low key within the pitch. But I look after it here. Good concept, kind of get some of this. I look after it within the tone. Has a number of plays. Most of these have, so it's just in good context just within the appeal, but I do like the aspect as far as saying. So there are 18 songs in this mixtape here, and minus like the 3 interludes, which is just basically Hear Me, and Hear Me Out, which is just the pitch behind it. I'd say there's actually 15 songs on here, and out of those 15, I wound up recommending 10. So it's a pretty good pitch, especially considering the concept that, when you think who's the biggest guest on here are the producers. This is a lot more local type bound within the pitch. I don't know any of these producers. It's just more, I feel like it's just more in-house kind of affairs, probably more local-wise just within the pitch. You're not going to find like your Mike Will Made It's and your like South Sides and producers like that within some of those type pitches, but it has at least one guest on here in the form of like this cat named Faze, so it's a good type concept within some of those type pitches. It does at least say that there's a beat by King Rico on here and another beat by Jason B, but those are like the only ones that are really denoted within the pitch, so I just question. Those might be some brewing type folks, just to say, I'll say their names again, King Rico, and I'll say their names again so you can possibly find them on SoundCloud or pitches like that, King Rico and then Jason B, so it's just within the pitch as far as saying some of those type of ones. But yeah, so just to say that I don't really know if there's a single out this product just within the tone, just a little bit more low-key buzzing type one, but just to say 10 out of 15, I'm going to go ahead and give this mixtape like a 7.75 out of 10 just with the pitch behind it. So I'll go ahead and recommend the songs out this product so you can see what I'm talking about. So the 10 songs I recommend would be Got That Fire, Lights Out, Henny Flow, Riding to the Death, Get Focused, Motivation, The World, How I Do, 7 Minutes in Heaven, and Plottin'. So just within the pitch, talk about the 5 songs I don't recommend on here, which would just be Still Kickin'. The 5 songs I don't recommend on here would just be Still Kickin', Jimmy Conscience, Skrilla, Joe vs. Skrillz, and Once Was. So talk about some of these. Basically most of these type ones just don't have a good enough production type fare within the pitch behind it. Some of these 1 minute type songs just don't do the fare as far as delivering upon, as far as like those aspects kind of went. I kind of felt like there was a little bit of paranoia type fashion about Once Was. There was a little bit of brewing kind of evening paranoia type fashion about Once Was, but it just didn't pull out the vibe nearly as well as pitches like Motivation did within some of those type pitches. I would say that would almost be like an almost song within the pitch, was just kind of concept. I don't know why that wasn't fleshed out more. It's just like a particular lengthier song as far as those pairs kind of went. But Joe vs. Skrillz was just kind of a clumsy type production on here. Didn't nail it as well. Kind of an awkward type song topic within the pitch as well as far as those pairs can happen. Skrill didn't really have that terrific a beat. That one was just a worse version. That was just like a worse version of a song like Riding to the Death and some of those type pitches, and got that fire, I'd have to say. Jimmy Conscious was another clumsy production, kind of similar to basically Joe vs. Skrillz was the first song you hear on here, still kicking as far as this pitch can happen. Some of these type 1 minute type songs, like I was saying, just didn't have as much full bound appeal. And it's kind of the same thing with Jimmy Conscience. But I would actually almost say that Jimmy Conscience might be a nice one to kind of smoke to within some of those type pitches. To be a good head trip type one to kind of get within those tones. So maybe that one would be recommendable. I almost look after within the sense as far as saying, I'm kind of starting to realize as I do this review, which doesn't happen too frequently, that I think I'm probably going to wind up liking more songs out this particular project than I did just 5 or 10 minutes ago when I was getting ready to review it. I almost think within the fashion that both Once Was and Jimmy Conscious just feel like songs that would probably have a little bit more affability as they were to grow on me later within those pitches. So I might just label those as almost songs that could actually be 12 out of 15 as far as those fares going to happen. But I know I'm fairly certain that I wouldn't probably recommend later Joe vs. Skrillz, and it's probably the same thing with Still Kickin'. And I'd probably say that same particular type fare about like Skrill as far as those pitches. Those are probably the ones that just have like the overall just most abrasive and less likely to have some fondness for later as far as those pitches can have. But at least Jimmy Conscious feels like a song that you could probably smoke to and just have a pretty good head trip just out and about socially. And then I would say that I do like the relative paranoia type fashion of Once Was. It's pretty similar to like Motivation. So to that end, I'll probably give the mixtape like either an 8.25 or an 8.5 out of 10. I just would say within the fashion, I'll say I'll give this mixtape like an 8.5 out of 10, but if I do wind up recommending a few more, I'd probably get like an 8.75, almost like a 9, so it's just in the pitch. But 12 out of 15 is pretty relatively good, so this within the fashion, I'd say for right now, it gets an 8.25 because of the two almost songs, but just within the pitch as far as saying, if I did wind up recommending both, it'd probably be like it'd probably be like an 8.75 or a light 9 within those pitches. But just to be able to say, this is a good type fare, but some of these, talk about these songs on here finally, basically Got That Fire is a nice one. It's like a good low-key kind of summer city ride around. I'd basically have to say here, just a basic day shift hop. I'd have to say, just reminds definitely of like Cut Calhoun, Slime, some of those particular type folks. Has a lot of this, a good portion of this particular product has some Midwest type fare, something that Tech N9ne would have done back in 2001, 2003. Some of those type fares, folks like Cut Calhoun, Chris Calico, some of those type folks, Stevie Stone, recognize some of those particular type folks that were kind of on Strange Music, some of that particular type fare. Just more, I mean, when I say low key, it's not to say low budget in the sense that it's just cruddy and not quality, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying it just has a little bit more basic kind of simplistic type tone within the pitch as far as some of those typical type ones when you think of folks like Scatterman and Snug Brim and Cut Calhoun, some of the more of those folks that were probably only selling like 3,000 or 5,000 copies within their first week as far as this pitch can go. But some good type stuff, good type of appeal. I do like the auto-tune hook on the particular song Got That Fire, so it's a nice one. One of the best songs on this particular mixtape is Lights Out. It's like a sharp, piercing kind of night venue heat to kind of get here. It's a nice dance club snaz. Definitely, I feel like it's like a good bounce and two-step motions kind of get within those tones. It's very glitzy type song. It's really like the pizzazz of this particular one. It's a real feral type one. This is one of the most immediate ones I would go for in terms of the pitch of recommending this mixtape within the boundness of disc folks who probably wouldn't know it as full blown, and I'd say so it's good type. It's a good type flavors for that. Riding to the Death is a nice one as well. It's like this one reminds me of like D Block and DMX kind of city fat. Riding to the Death reminds of like D Block and DMX kind of city fast cruising. I had to say about this, just a taste of glamour definitely, and just some shop till you drop type tones, and some shop till you drop type tones, and this just overall has some glitz about it. So it's good type fare. So yeah, I would say Riding to the Death is definitely more NY type flavor within the pitch. Definitely something that Jadakiss or Chic Luch or Styles P would have hopped on some of those type fares just from the pitch behind it. Just definitely reminds of like feels like DMX should be growling and barking barking on that particular song, something like that. This kind of reminds of like those songs like Get At Me Dog, some of those type pitches I'd have to say. Henny Flow is a nice one. It's like a drowsy kind of evening enact as far as this pitch kind of happened. Just a good primer for some basic step out. I had to say here. It goes with lights out definitely. This is definitely good for some initial kickoffs. So it's just kind of the pitch of just something for like 7 o'clock p.m. haze. The sun's starting to set, especially in the summertime. Some of those type pitches. But probably the concept of just having already some drinks in your system. Not so much of just waiting to the bar to get crunk as far as those pitches can go, but just the aspect, just within the legality of it, is of just getting tore up just a little bit and having some good times. Just a feel good type Thursday, Friday type appeal. Once tasks are kind of roped up, just the pitch behind having that excitement of getting crunk a little bit and going for some step outs. So it's good type tone, just that primer, just those moments probably between like probably 5:45, 6:15 to about 8:30, somewhere in there, just the initial kind of early night type embrace and pizzazz about it as far as this pitch can go. Good type tone. Another nice club hop on here would be Get Focused. Really appreciate this one. This has the only guest on here with the cat named Phase, apart from like the dude Skrillz as far as this pitch can have. So it's good type tone. This is like a good buzzing kind of dance club bop to kind of get here. Just night of quality rounds, I'd have to say. Just get hell shots in your system, pitches like that. Get crunk. Definitely like a stock dope kind of social snaps about this one as far as this fair is going to go. So it's good type fairs. Motivation's a pretty dope one as well. It's like a brewing and malaise kind of summer commie to kind of get this Tupac like some extra thoughts within that fair as far as this fair is going to happen. This is like a good ruminate outing as far as those pitches going to go. I like the character on this particular song, Motivation. Just a good aspect. There are some vibes of where you get particular fairs that just some similarities to Tupac on here within some of those type pitches. One of those type ones that would feel like a song like Death Around the Corner, some of those type pitches, more in like the vibe of like Tupac and like a Hail Mary type pitch, just a little bit more brooding within a sense, something like Me Against the World and Don Killuminati, the paranoia of Me Against the World and Don Killuminati, Tupac within the pitch, of just like some summer commerce within it. So this has some good evening malaise about it. Just a good nice one to like smoke a swisher and like the whip and like some evening type fare as far as the pitch is gonna go. Just the aspect to like that typical kind of after work shift type embrace within some of those type pitches. Good type fare, good rumination type song for some of that good rumination type concept. Pick up like some goodies and figure out what's gonna happen for like the next few while as far as those pitch gonna go. Good type tone. The World is a nice one as well. It's like a good ride out bravado kind of city hop fun to kind of get. Pretty similar to Got That Fire, I'd have to say. Just some good summer breeze that I had to say about this one. This one definitely reminds me of like Tech N9ne as far as this pitch can go. Definitely Tech N9ne, some of those type pitches. Just the concept of one of those low key type ones just from the pitch that feels like something ripped out of Angelic or Absolute Power by Tech N9ne. Some of those type fares. So just those day shift kind of comedy type ones with some rumination about it. Not quite as full bound rumination, but just from the pitch, just like a ride around, just within the sense of just simplistic kind of town hop and romping as far as those fares gonna go. Just good aspects for that. 7 Minutes in Heaven's a nice one as well as like a low key version of like Tupac and Tech N9ne kind of day shift rumination. I'd have to say here something like Wonder if Heaven Got a Ghetto, some of those type of ones, and pitches like that. Heaven Ain't Hard to Find, some of those type pitches. Heaven Ain't Hard to Find, some of those type pitches off of All Eyes on Me, and those type ones I described by Tech N9ne, some of those ones off of his early 2000s albums. So it's just pitches like that, just typical kind of vehicle thought as far as those fares going to happen. Definitely like the aspects of some of this type fare, just kind of embraces it. This particular song on this mixtape is not quite as much 10 toes down. It's a good type fashion kind of have for some of that just elegance as far as the pitch behind it, just something for like some extra thought, just kind of have some extra characters as far as those fares going to happen. This has a pretty good packaging of characters as far as those fares going to happen. He actually has good expressions about a lot of these, considering that this might be his only project or even like his first project. Some excellent type appeals just to have like this particular aspect, just the varietized type stuff on here. It just has a pretty good palette and balance within those aspects. Definitely some appeals to just have like that character being able to flesh these out. So it's a good type tone. It's a good aspect of something that like Tupac, Ice Cube, Tech N9ne would kind of do within some of those type pitches of just day shift kind of thoughts. Plottin's a nice one as well. It's like an in-between kind of commerce product to kind of get within these tones here. Just extra thoughts on like a blanker kind of day, just with by blanker day, I just mean a day that doesn't have really much going on, not really so much work or pitches like that, or just some sort of house party on the horizon. Just typical kind of stuff for just like a basic kind of just simplistic kind of day of just simping and pitches like that. Just get supplies to be a good type song to just get supplies and prime for some shindigs as far as those fairs can happen. Just in between type moments, just the concept of just something blanker, just within the concept, just a blank canvas. It's kind of like a blank canvas, just trying to map out as far as pitches. It's kind of a blank canvas, just trying to map out as far as what pitches are going to happen within those tones. Call it some bells, figure out what's going to happen, get like a pitcher, box of beer, something that relative type fare within those plots. Now would definitely say Plot has a pretty frenetic type beat just within the pitch. It keeps things excited within the fair behind. It's not really like a down tempo song or something with like a slower type fashion. It just has something of a little bit frenetic typeness, just a quicker type times within the pitch. It is some standard further kind of cruise around within the pitch behind. It's something that should spark some excitement despite the fact that it's just kind of a blanker song within the pitch behind. Just some extra thoughts on that one, but it works for what it is. Good electro type beat. And then How I Do is a nice one. This is probably one of the closest ones to like a more makeshift type format in terms of something that's a little bit more like pedestrian, like pop rap type within a pitch. I'd say it's like a piercing kind of evening makeshift dredge kind of get here. Typical commute in like a dramatic sense. I'd have to say about this one, just kind of some urban work fatigue as far as this pitch kind of goes. So just the concept of like this kind of after work shift type thoughts just within the pitch and like a more hustler's makeshift pitch just like that. I'd have to suppose just the concept of just like the dredge, not so much a disc reporting to like when I was saying Old Navy, some of those type places or Staples pitches like that. Just the concept of just like, oh, work was a bitch, some of that type fare, but just the actual concept in a more hustle type, stack up type format, in a more rap type sense, and a more dat piff kind of urban type sense within the pitch. It just like the commerce, it just kind of get into money and just kind of the concept of just something a little bit more, something that's just not as much full bound by the book and quite as like something that's just not quite as full bound by the book and sheep like as far as this pitch kind of goes. So it's just good type tone for that. But that's the pitch behind this project. So yeah, once again, raise the score from 7.75 to an 8.5 just because some of these extra type songs on here do have pretty good fashion. I would write the descriptions, but it'd probably take a good chunk of time to get those particularly done as far as those fairs going to happen. So I'm just going to say with what it is, 8.5, just raise the score because I feel like those songs would be almost songs. Two songs I was saying, which was basically just two extra songs, which was Jimmy Conscience, and then Once Was within those fashions. So it's good type fair for that. The social score I'll probably give, it was just within the palette of this particular product. I really enjoyed the varietized and just vibrant type palette of this particular product. I'd probably say the social score would probably get like a 9.25 out of 10 just within the pitch behind. This minus is probably like a few small songs just of like a snag within those pitches, like almost like a virtual classic just with the impact, just despite how low key it is and just the concept. That's the only real thing about it. It's just a little bit trickier to find within the pitch. I question how many full bound folks is understanding the concept that for the most part none of these songs off this particular product on SoundCloud or this mixtape website have over 300 plays within the pitch behind it, and really the amount of plays that this mixtape has gotten on the mixtape download website is less than 10. So it's just in the pitch as far as saying, if you find it, definitely fuck with it, get it some expression, some of those type fairs. I think it's kind of too late by this particular stage to suppose this cat could come back from the underground as far as this pitch is going to happen, but it's a good type aspect of just appreciating some treats from like the 2010s era Dat Piff mixtape lore. So it's a good type fair for that. It's a 9.25 social. In terms of the future, leading into that, I don't really know as full bound what this cat would particularly be up to. Skrillz, as far as this pitch going to happen, it just seems like he may only have this particular product. He may have really done nothing else within the fair, so it seems less likely just because the fair of like the relatively low budget and just kind of obscurity of it. So it's just within the fair. So that say it's a pretty dynamite type product just in the pitch, but just understand the concept's a little bit more low key. I think the actual mixtape download link does not work, so you're going to have to find to get these songs within a certain type fashion, actually hunt them down a little bit, but it is worth it within those investments. So I would say it's a pretty quality type mixtape for the low key sense. Definitely worth picking up. Just understand that it's obscure, but it's worth it.